Hello, and welcome back to the first episode of the Preschool Power Play Podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Newton, and today I'm excited to share with you a really important topic for parents like myself, but also teachers like myself. We're going to be discussing the ins and outs of tantrums and challenging behavior for preschool age students. So preschool age students, really age 3 through 5. What you can expect today is you can expect to learn a really awesome strategy that I implement every single day. You can learn some ideas to help you calm and stay calm. And I think you can also find information during this episode that will allow you to comprehend why your child or why the student is acting the way they are. Will understand that behavior is communication. And so I'm excited to share this with you in the hopes that by the end of this, you'll come away with some strategies that you can implement every single day to help your child through a challenging behavior, and also help you and your family understand their needs and to be calm through those difficult moments. So, join me today. Before we do, make sure you don't miss another episode of the Preschool Power Play Podcast. Like and subscribe, and then also consider following me on Instagram at Trevor T Newton, TrevorTnewton. Follow me on Instagram. So, like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. Okay, you know what? Let's get this going today. Okay, so I did some pre-planning on this, which I always do, right? You know, being a teacher, preschool teacher, the last 14, 15 years, I've learned to help myself out by taking notes and make sure I'm ready, because what I want to do is I want to give you information that's going to be really valuable, and that's not just off the cuff. So what I've done here is I've gone out, I've done my research, I've spoken with colleagues, I've spoken with parents, and I have synthesized and filtered through my lens some really good strategies that will help you stay calm during your child's challenging behavior. So first, we have to understand what a tantrum is, okay? So what is a tantrum? So in my opinion, I believe all behavior is forms of communication. So what do I mean by that? Your child's behavior is telling you something about what they need. The younger the child is, the less language they have developed. So with the less language they have developed, they don't have the words to tell you articulately, I think I said it right. They don't have the correct articulation to tell you exactly what they need. We see this more for a 3-year-old or even a young 4-year-old or even a child with special needs who has a language delay. But even our 5-year-old children still don't have all the words to articulate their issues. So what do? They use their behaviors. They use that as a mode of communication to tell you what is wrong. It could be attention seeking. Maybe they need more attention. Maybe they're overstimulated. It could be hunger, sadness, fear, anxiety, loneliness, too much joy, anger, you name it. You basically find an emotion, there's a behavior associated with it. So I really believe that it's important to understand that all behavior, even challenging behavior like tantrums, is a form of communication. Children will use behavior to express themselves when the words can't. That's going to be really important to remember going on. And so with that knowledge that challenging behavior is forms of communication, as a teacher and a dad, it's always helped calm my mind, because it's so easy to frustrated at times when a child is having a big tantrum, a big meltdown, wild hitting, screaming, kicking, wild behaviors. You're like, what is going on? Why won't they stop? I can't believe this. Right? And it can be mind-numbing at times when you're just like, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know why. I can't get them to stop. They just keep screaming all the time. We need to see that as like, okay, first, we have a challenging behavior. We need to be able to identify what the problem actually is. Okay, so let's go through a scenario here, and I think this will help us game plan for the future. Okay, so let's check it. This example is hunger. Okay, so you have a child throwing a tantrum because you believe they might be hungry. My son, when he gets hungry, he starts exhibiting challenging behavior in the form of like a strong negativity. So my wife and I, Lauren, we see that. We see the signs right away and we get ahead of it. So what that really is, if you go back to like applied behavior analysis, which is like ABA, form of autism-based therapy, they understand that as ABC data. So ABC data is going to be really valuable for everyone to understand. It's antecedent, behavior, consequence, ABC. If we understand the ABCs of behavior, we can start looking at things and understand why things are happening. So the easy one to see is actually the B, the behavior of what they did. Okay, in this case, I'll just use my son as an example when he's hungry. Okay, so you're like, the behavior is he starts becoming, frustrated. Really, it's almost like a short fuse is probably the best way to say it, and he has some challenging behavior associated with it in the form of like poor language. So my wife and I see that behavior, right? In the past, he would use that challenging behavior, and the consequence we'd be all hands on deck, like what's going on, right? And we would try to figure out exactly what he needed, right? And what it turned into is we knew he needed food. So he's now at the phase where he's using that challenging behavior because without even realizing it, that's helping him get his food quicker because it's cluing my wife and I in what he needs. Now, the antecedent to that is something that happens before the behavior. So in my son's case, he goes 2 or 3 hours without eating, maybe not even drinking water. And so that's antecedent, that's causing all of a sudden the sugar crash to him to go into that challenging behavior. Now, a couple things we can do here. Now, as a parent myself, I'm just being super real with you guys. An antecedent strategy is something you do to help prevent the behavior or help to eliminate some of that behavior. So we know that my son has behavior when he's hungry and he's showing the desire that he needs that food. So here's what we do. We make sure he's eating on a really regular basis. 30, 45 minutes to an hour, he's having something. Obviously, he's having the 3 meals a day, things of that nature, or make sure he's constantly eating. So we're putting that strategy in place to ensure we never even get to the point of the behavior, right? So that's the antecedent strategy. And then when he has his food and he's been calm and positive and his needs have met and he's no longer hungry, then we explain to him on the backside of things where like that consequence would be, Dash, you did a great job staying calm. You did a great job eating when we asked you to. Now, do you see how kind you are and how much better the day has gone, how positive everyone is around you? So we're taking that calm moment outside of the challenging behavior to now point out and highlight, hey, you did a great job here. Let's do more of that. And then we'll follow up with when we give you food so we can have moments like this, right, where you're nice and calm. So that's just an example of an antecedent strategy with the behavior and then the consequence afterwards. In that case, it was really positive. But there's a lot of different scenarios like that. And we'll run another one in just a moment. Okay. So inside the classroom and inside my own home, or even when I'm a YMCA coach, I use a strategy I think can be really helpful with you. And it's not my own. That's why I want you guys to understand. I didn't develop this, but it comes from flip-flipping. Several years ago, maybe like 6 or 7 actually, I took a flip-flipping training. So if you don't know flip-flipping, go out and find that, do some your own personal research. But it's all about, focus on building relationships and redirecting behavior through connection rather than punishment. It's all about understanding and responding to your child's needs in a positive way, okay? So the way I look at this, there's 4 parts to it, okay? And like I said, once I started using this, it allowed me to stay calm. It allowed my staff, when I taught them to stay calm, same with my wife. And we're able to help a child through a moment because the challenging behavior is not a big thing anymore. It's just a form of communication that we're moving forward with and we're trying to help a child solve alongside them. Can I see where we're going with here? So first, identify that emotion. Number 2, detail what is allowed or what is tolerated, and that's in that environment. 3, ask a probing question about how we can solve the problem. 4, solve the problem together. So if you look at the arc of that, you identify a challenge behavior, you detail what is allowed in your environment, you work together to solve a solution, right? And then you actually solve the problem together, right? So what you're teaching the child here is actually problem solving. You are showing empathy. I believe that's the right word. You're showing empathy that, hey, I'm acknowledging your emotions. I see how you're feeling, and it's okay to feel that way. You're detailing what you will tolerate in your class, and sometimes even what you won't tolerate in your class. And that's going to be really important for the future because the child is going to be able to recognize their emotion by themselves. They're going to be able to internalize what's allowed in the environment, and they'll start asking themselves the appropriate questions. So, love this. I really want to walk you through it, okay? So step 1, like I said, stay calm. Step 2, acknowledge feelings. Stage 3, offer choices and solutions. Step 4, set clear boundaries and expectations. Okay, here we go. Step 5, follow through and reflect. So they actually gave me, I detailed out 5 steps there. And the reason there's 5 on here instead of the 4 I always go with is because the one that happens even before you interact with the child is as the adult, you have to stay calm. Okay, so I want to walk you through a scenario here, and let's think of something that you see maybe in a preschool environment at times. Okay. I'll start with one that I think is super triggering for adults. Okay. As we walk through this, we're going to understand that behavior is communication. And because behavior is communication, we can help a child solve a problem. So that way in the future, they can use practical steps that are very positive and will allow them to grow. We'll also acknowledge their feelings along the way, so that way they don't feel dismissed. All right, so we're supporting a child and helping them through the problem. Okay, so putting on my cap here. Ooh, how's my hair today, guys? Putting on my preschool cap. I'm in my preschool classroom. I'm coming up to the blocks, and I'm at the point where I'm like zoning. I'm zoning through the class. I'm watching. I'm trying to see if I can figure out what is happening. I'm looking at this group. I'm looking at this group. All of a sudden, I don't actually see it, but I hear crying from the block center. Okay, so I was looking over here, maybe at science, zone back to blocks. I hear the crying. It tunes me in. I walk right over to blocks. And I see a child crying. Let's say there's a boy and a girl. The girl is crying. She appears to, I'm not judging, I'm not assuming, but she appears like she's having sobbing pains, like she's in pain. Okay? She's crying. I come down. First thing I do is I stay calm, I stay composed, and I try not to assume the worst. So I come down, I get on the child's level. I'm seeing that these 2 children are here. I'm trying to evaluate what's going on. Let's say it's the first week of school. I don't have a huge background of these children yet. And I noticed through the girl's sobs, the girl says, he threw a car at me. I'm like, okay. So I turn to the other boy. First in this situation, I'm going to use the flip method on the boy who threw the car. But I must take time to acknowledge the girl's feelings to make sure she feels supported. So for the girl first, mind you, this might happen really fast, but for the girl first, I'm going to say, you look sad. You look hurt. I'm really sorry that happened to you. In preschool, we don't throw toys. Maybe he was trying to get something, but we don't throw toys. Is there a way I can help you feel better? An ice pack? Okay, let's go together. Let's go get an ice pack. In this case, I might actually hand off to one of my assistants, and I'll say, can you please, she needs an ice pack. Can you please go support her? Maybe even allow that child to go to the calming corner and just really acknowledge those feelings and acknowledge that if she did get hurt and make sure she feels really secure. Okay? So that, I can't understate that enough. We have to take care of the child who was hurt or wronged. Okay, next. I then turn my attention. Hopefully this child is still in the area and hasn't run off. Or if they have, I bring them back in. And I go to that child. Maybe at this point, they're showing me different behaviors, but we're not going to go into the weeds. We'll just assume that the child is in the area. And I will say, hey, try to get a read on it. What's going on? And then maybe this child is says, I want the car. Or rather, she took my toy. Oh, what could it be here? If he threw the car, maybe it's simple. Maybe he threw the car because the girl asked for it and he didn't really know how to share, so he just kind of got upset and threw it at her. Okay, let's start with that. Okay, so we coming down with the boy, and it becomes she wanted the car, and I can say, you look mad that you had to give up that car, or you look mad. In preschool, we have to share, and we have to be gentle with our toys. Is there a way we could have given her the toy without hurting her? If the child knows, great, he gives the answer, like maybe I just tap her on the shoulder and hand it to her. But maybe this child needs some more modeling. So at this point, I'm on that step 4. I can say, you know what? In preschool, we have to share in a gentle way. So I get the friend's attention. Here's your toy. And then I'm going to model that. Let's do that together, buddy. Tap my shoulder. Here's the toy. I might even go one step further and say, tap his shoulder. Can I have the car? And then he might look at me and he might just give it to me. And then I reward that through verbal praise. Great job. I like how you're calm. I like how you shared. That's really cool. And now we have this back and forth exchange a couple times, and we're actually going to go through and practice sharing, practice handing in a safe way. Okay, so let's all back. I walked into that situation. There was a child who was crying. There was a child who now I understand was upset because he had to share the toy. I acknowledged the child who was struggling and felt hurt, make sure that child's feelings were taken care of. And then I went to the boy and I redirected his behavior. I acknowledged his feelings, set down my ground rules of what I'll tolerate. Then I worked with him to ask probing questions to solve the problem for the future. And then we actually did role playing and modeling and practiced that skill in the hopes that next time, maybe with maybe with just a modeling or a gestural prompt, he can do it somewhat independently. And so we're going to keep building that to the point over the next couple of weeks to where he can share and feels comfortable sharing independently in a safe way. So that is called the flip-in method. So what we do, first, stay calm. We acknowledge feelings. We offer, I don't love this, how I wrote it as much. I realized it wasn't with my teacher brain as much. So first, when we see a situation, we're going to stay calm and understand that all communication, all behavior is forms of communication. The girl is telling me that she's feeling hurt. The boy was telling us that he didn't want to share. That was their behavior they used to communicate those feelings. So I understand this, so I don't become upset, and I don't become frustrated, like, oh, why are they crying so much? I just say, okay, that's telling me something. Now as the adult, I go figure out the puzzle. So stay calm, then go up to the child, acknowledge your feelings, set your limits and expectations, or maybe even reaffirm them, ask a probing question to help them solve their problem for the future, or to rework it or practice. And then actually, number 4, solve the problem together. That's really what we're going to do. Okay, so let me check my notes here. Okay, so I want to follow up all of that. So we talked about tantrums, that really tantrums are forms of communication, the behaviors, forms of communication. So if you understand that as your takeaway, then you can look at in situation as something that can be taught. This child was mad because of this, or this child was sad because of this, or whatever the situation might be. I know that I can work with this child to help them in the future through that scenario. So now their behavior is totally different because now they feel confident. So I see a situation, I see it as teachable. That's really important. I see behavior as teachable moments. Maybe that's the best quote of it, right? Behavior leads to teachable moments. So I see it as opportunities. That's where it really happens at. If you're a parent or a teacher and there's moments in your classroom or at home where big behavior is happening, see it as teachable moments. Identify their emotion, set your limits and expectations, go through, ask probing questions, see if you can get to the bottom of it, solve the problem together, right? And help them with that practice, because that's really where the teaching piece is at the very end of it, and then send them on their way, right? Because you just taught them a skill. That's the teaching of parenthood. That's the teaching of a preschool educator. That's what I really want you to focus on, okay? So if you go through with that, you're actually going to have a much more positive framed thinking, and you see everything as an opportunity, and you feel everything becomes more positive because you're like, oh, I see why you're upset, and I can help you solve this. I identify how you feel, I can help you solve this problem, and we can work through it together. So next time that child has a scenario, they can have an opportunity to do it independently and ideally be successful. And so it goes from that mentality of being positive and everything's teachable, and it helps you avoid moments of every time you hear crying, it becomes a trigger of again, and a constant cycle of frustration because the same problem is happening over and over, and you're trying to solve it just through screaming and crying, or screaming and yelling and trying to be the big dog on campus. So avoid that. See challenging behavior as communication that can lead to teachable moments, and see it as opportunities for you to help your child and the students grow. So I encourage you to go learn more. Go check out Flippin'. Go check out more about behavior. Reach out to me. I would love to help you with this. So here's the call to action. Are you ready? If you haven't already, like and subscribe to the Preschool Power Play Podcast. I'm going to be uploading every week, and I want you to be a part of this. I feel like there's something that could help you learn. Additionally, go find me on Instagram, Trevor T. Newton, and follow there because I post some really cool content about early childhood, even little videos that I think are more on the educational side of things. So with that being said, thank you for joining me today. I hope you go into your environment and that you see behavior as opportunities for teachable moments. Good luck. Reach out if you need me. I'm here for you. Thank you.